That was on the way back to D.C. last night. That includes shaking off tense moments and moving ahead to phase 2 of the historic Middle East peace agreement. Two of the key figures now brokering that deal, revealing brand new details about how it all came together and what is needed in the future to make sure that it sticks.
Hamas right now is doing exactly what you would expect a terrorist organization to do, which is to try to reconstitute and take back their positions.
Right.
The success or failure of this will be if Israel and this international mechanism is able to create a viable alternative. If they are successful, Hamas will fail, and Gaza will not be a threat to Israel in the future.
So that was from 60 Minutes Sunday night. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Very intriguing details with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. And now Trey Yingst joins us live in Tel Aviv with the follow-on today. Trey, hello.
Hey, Bill, good morning. Over the weekend, Hamas violated the ceasefire agreement, killing 2 Israeli soldiers. The IDF said Hamas militants popped out of a tunnel before firing RPGs at an excavator operating near the city of Rafah. In another incident nearby, Israeli soldiers were wounded by Hamas sniper fire. The event prompted Israeli strikes across the Gaza Strip that killed dozens of Palestinians.
Yesterday, the situation was scary. We were afraid that the war would start again with the strikes and bombing. The situation is not stable. We were relieved when the war had ended and stopped, God willing. There is still fear, there is still fear.
Israeli officials say they are resuming the American-led ceasefire, and Hamas leadership said they're committed to the agreement. For now, things appear to be back on track ahead of what Israeli media says will be Vice President J.D. Vance's visit to Israel tomorrow.
Our allies don't have the security infrastructure in place yet to confirm that Hamas is disarmed until you actually go a little bit down the path of this peace mission, of this 20-point peace plan. We're not going to be able to say with confidence that everybody is doing everything that we want them to do.
President Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, arrived in Israel today to meet with their Israeli counterparts and keep the ceasefire moving forward. As part of phase 1 in the agreement, Hamas still must release the bodies of 16 hostages that remain inside Gaza. Regional negotiators are already starting to work on the implementation of phase 2 in this deal that ultimately should lead to Hamas disarming.
We want to make sure that it's going to be very peaceful with Hamas. And as you know, they've been quite rambunctious. They've been doing some shooting, and we think maybe the leadership isn't involved in that. You know, some rebels within. But either way, it's going to be handled properly. It's going to be handled toughly, but properly.
Ceasefires are never straightforward, but the Trump administration peace plan built in fail-safes to keep stability in Gaza. Bill?
Got it. Trey, thanks. Leading our coverage as we begin a new week. Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Thanks.
Let's bring in our special colleague of Special Report, anchor Bret Baier. You are here. One of the things that was so unique about this particular negotiation is that Witkoff and Kushner actually meet with Hamas leaders. And this is something that they talked about last night in terms of seeing them and connecting with them to get a conversation going.
We expressed our condolences to him for the loss of his son. He mentioned it. And I told him that I had lost a son and that we were both members of a really bad club, parents who have buried children.
When Steve and him spoke about their sons, it turned from a negotiation with a terrorist group to seeing two human beings kind of showing a vulnerability with each other.
So here we are today. I mean, it is a little bit of a tenuous situation. Hamas trying to figure out a way to keep alive. Can they do that?
Yeah, listen, I thought the 60 Minutes piece was really fascinating. I thought they did a nice job. And both Witkoff and Kushner were open about that negotiation. And obviously, Witkoff is talking about losing his son to opioid abuse. And the other son was taken out by Israeli strikes inside Doha, Qatar. So the loss of those sons connected them. And I thought the part where they say they finally make the deal and the Israelis and the Qataris hug was kind of a really interesting moment, right? There's a lot that we don't know about the future of this and how that Arab force is going to patrol Gaza and what that security environment and envelope is going to look like. And I think the positive side is that the IDF chose to act and then get back out and recall a ceasefire, saying, we're still in the game. This is still holding. I think that's important.
I think that comment you made about them talking about the hug and they said, we wish a camera was there. We wish the world could have seen this. That could have been a special moment.
It could have. And I think that that's what people don't get, is that there's this hunger in that region for a deal. We've always been just one step away from it for one reason or another, and both sides pull off to their corners. But there is this just tired feeling that they're done with it. And there is buy-in to try to get to something. This is the something right now.
And Kushner apparently from the very beginning, even in the first term, said, if you can figure out a way to get shared economic interests going, you might be able to figure out a way to get to a deal, because the Arab countries want to move forward, Israel wants to move forward, and so they had that playing in their favor. The other thing is interesting to me. They are in a situation where Palestinians are being attacked by Hamas. So who else could protect them? There's nobody else in place right now.
No, there's not. And other than the IDF going back in to try to stop some of that killing. I think there was some bloodletting from Hamas going after groups that wanted Hamas out of there from the beginning. And really, it's this Arab force. So far, the Pakistanis, the Indonesians, the Azerbaijanis have agreed, but you're going to have a bigger, broader force with the Qataris and the Emiratis.
Okay, so Karine Jean-Pierre's got a book coming out again. I think we've been talking about this thing for a month. It's still not there. This was what was dropped over the weekend. Biden seemed to be totally at peace with his decision to drop out, she writes. But I was stunned. My feelings a blur. I was angry and sad. I was enraged and heartbroken that this man, who had given more than 50 years of his life to serving the American people, and in the end he'd been treated poorly by members of his own party. It was horrible, end quote. She says, you know what? I'm going to become an independent. I don't think I can stomach being in the Democratic Party anymore. You wonder if Mamdani wins in New York, whether or not some of these Democrats can stand being the Democratic Party as well. What are the contrails in Washington, D.C., based on like her reaction, and are there some of significance, do you think?
I think there's still this digestion of all that was said about how he was running circles around the staff, and all that was said from different podiums and dais that he was in great shape, and then we all saw what happened at the debate. And that disconnect, I don't know, it's still there. And I think there's going to be digesting of that for a long, long time.
What about the invitation to come follow us along for a day and see if you can keep up?
Yeah.
I think we heard that a couple of times.
But and feel sorry for some Democrats. You had Kamala Harris in the news for 3 weeks because of her book. Now you're going to have Corinne for 2 weeks, and then you have Mamdani. That is what is dominating the conversation on the Democratic side. But to dominate this week, you have a new book. It's called
let's talk about this
To
book.
Rescue the American Spirit. I want to ask about something, the Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking a little bit about the Nobel Prize. What did it take to win?
So this book really focuses on Teddy Roosevelt and his focus on America being in the global leadership, and the fact that he believed that America needed to be in the lead. He decides to get involved between Russia and Japan on this territorial dispute, and he brings them both to New Hampshire. He puts them on a boat. He gets them talking. He essentially seals the deal that prevents a war between Russia and Japan. That leads to the Nobel Prize. It fits currently with what President Trump is doing, and believe it or not, there's a lot of similarities in the way they talk, the way they interact with the press. They're kind of bigger than life figures. It's a lot of fun. You know, this is the 6th of the presidential books that I've done, and I love this, like, digging into nuggets of history, and I'm psyched about it.
And the cover is gorgeous.
Thank you.
If you need artwork, get it, but also get it for your brain. Really
Rescue
great
the
stuff.
American spirit. Congratulations.
Thanks, buddy.
See you
Beautiful
throughout the
book.
week here in
Yeah,
New York. Okay?
you got it.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Brett.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.